Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to a new Monday Readers Recommends. I'm Thomas from Readers Warehouse, and for the next 5 weeks, you might be joining us to find out about exciting new books coming out in 2024 to your nearest Readers Warehouse. Today, I am joined by the product and sales manager, Bradley Lutz from John and Ball Publishers. Bradley is in charge for some very big publishers from around the world, like Harper and Schuster. Bradley is involved with some of the biggest authors in the publishing industry. When you see books from authors like Karen Slaughter, Daniel Silva, Santa Montefiore, Jeffrey Archer, Chris Carter, Jay Shetty, those books are coming to our stores thanks to Bradley. To start off, Bradley, I actually still want to ask you, when you look at 2023, is there any like standout books that you'll always remember this year from your list? Was any book that came out that you were so excited about to hit the South African bookshelves? If you think of the year of 2023, is there any book that comes to your mind that you were involved with?
Yeah, thanks so much for the great introduction, Thomas. I think my favorite book of the year has to be Michael Cunningham's Day. I think that was an absolutely superb book. It's a short novel, but so beautifully written, split into sort of three parts, taking part over the same day over three years, but so beautifully written and very insightful into the family dynamics during COVID lockdown and the aftermath. I definitely strongly recommend anyone pick that up. It's not depressing at all. It's a very, very good read.
Yeah, that book. I remember when your colleague Inga was telling me about it, and she's recommended it on these sessions before. And now it's just, everyone who's read that book, the reviews have just been absolutely phenomenal for it. I think there was a long wait for a new book from him, and he definitely did not disappoint at that time. So, really amazing. So what we're going to do now is Bradley is going to be highlighting titles that are coming out between Jan and June this year. These titles are subject to change in release dates, and we'll keep you informed about that. But any titles that we can put on pre-order, we'll be listing below in this video all those titles that we can put on pre-order. So if there's a title you want to add to your wish list, or if you want to order a copy, you'll be able to. And then the titles that we're looking at a little bit in a few more months' time that are coming out, those will be putting able to. So, Bradley, over to you for your presentation.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Yeah, we've got some real gems to look forward to. And yeah, I'm going to share them with you. And let's go from the beginning. There's some really great titles. Can you see the screen?
Yep, I can.
Beautiful. Let's begin. So starting off in January, we've got this absolutely intriguing debut. And as you can see, it's a really fantastic cover as well. What you'll notice is that basically the book has this. I've got a picture of tarot cards on the side, and that's for a very important reason. The Knowing is a stunning cover. Emma Hines' debut book, coming out around about the 18th of January. And essentially, if you're a fan of Sarah Waters or Erin Morgenstern's Night Circus or Jessie Burton, I think you're going to really, really enjoy this. It's set in the slums of 19th century New York. And we have a young girl called Flora, who basically is a tattoo artist, but she's also in a relationship with a man who owns a tattoo parlor, and he's quite abusive. He basically uses her as a living canvas for his tattoo work. And what we find out in this intriguing setting, 19th century New York, the slums, we've also got this young girl called Minnie who comes into the tattoo parlor one day. She's this enigmatic circus performer, and basically she offers Flora refuge in this opulent townhouse. Unfortunately, this townhouse is home to a very menacing and predatory man called Mr. Merton. And Flora has to earn her keep, basically reading the tarot cards. And when she reads the tarot cards, she actually discovers that she has this unique power, this unique sort of gift called the Knowing. And essentially, she can actually summon dead spirits and talk to them. And of course, this this leads to all sorts of complications because one night at a very public seance, she summons the spirit of a dead prostitute boy and reveals his killer. And of course, this sets the cat amongst the pigeons in a massive way. This book is very, very compelling. It's really beautifully written. And what I would also like to point out is that it's based on some real life characters. So in the 19th century, when obviously women tattooing and being tattooed was very rare, one of the real life people that existed was a lady called Maud Wagner, who was one of the first known female tattoo artists. There's also a gang that features in the book called the Dead Rabbits. The Dead Rabbits did actually exist in 19th century New York, and some of the characters that Emma created have also drawn inspiration from P.T. Barnum's circus in the 1800s. So a very, very special book. Secondly, we've got another fantastic book. This one, of course, we'll all remember, hopefully, The Maid from Anita Prose, which did so tremendously well. It came out 2022, early 2022, around about the same time as this one's coming out in January 2024. And it basically was kind of a word of mouth bestseller, which we love those kind of books. Molly, the maid, was the main character, and she just endeared herself to thousands and thousands of readers who really, really delighted in her quirkiness and her ability to solve a mystery. Of course, as the maid in the Grand Regency Hotel, she's, of course, privy to a lot of secrets because, of course, as a guest at a hotel, you leave a lot of your stuff out there in the room. And, of course, you know, a lot of the stuff's exposed to people who are cleaning up. So they know a lot about you, and you know very little about the person who's doing the cleaning up. So in the second book, The Mystery Guest, Nita Prose has got Molly to return, so she's back. So people will be very, very excited. And in this one, a renowned guest, a famous mystery writer, drops down dead in the tea room. And Molly has a very unusual cleanup on her hands as a result. And rumors and suspicions start to swirl through the hotel corridors. And it's very clear that there's a lot of dirt on the murder and the novelist. Something's not adding up. But Molly knows that she alone finds the key to solving this mystery because it means thinking about her past, thinking about her grandmother, and everything she's kept hidden away in her memory for so long, because Molly actually knew the dead guest once upon a time, very long ago, and he knew her. So really, really intriguing, good mystery to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, the name for this second title. So yeah, I think it's going to be really, really great that there's another one coming out.
Yeah, we're very excited. And then talking about phenomenal debuts, I think this cover is just going to become so iconic. It's really eye-catching, forgive the pun. But Matthew Blake, his name will be on the spine, but as you can see, not on the cover. And HarperCollins are really hoping for a very sort of iconic cover that's going to really draw everyone's attention and be very easy to find in the bookstore. And this just sounds absolutely fantastic. I've actually been lucky enough to read this, and it is an incredibly twisty and atmospheric thriller and touches on some very interesting subject material. Because did you know that an average person throughout their life would approximately, it would be 33 years that they would sleep for. So in our average life, when we add up all the time we're sleeping, it adds up to about 33 years. That's a huge amount of time. And there's very little we know about what's going on when we sleep. Scientists still study it, and we know people do some strange things in their sleep. Of course, sleepwalking being one of them. We've heard of people even driving in their sleep, as dangerous as that may be. So this book looks at the idea, what happens if you were found unconscious with a kitchen knife in your hand, your clothes are bloodstained, and the bodies of your two best friends are lying close by. Is this a dream? Is this a nightmare? Are you innocent? Are you a killer? And these are the questions that drive the novel forward. Anna O is this famous murder suspect that was found just as I described. And the thing is, she's never woken up since. And so we see the story a lot through the eyes of Dr. Benedict Prince, who's the therapist, the sleep doctor, tasked with waking her for trial. This book is nothing like you've read before. The plot is slick, it's cunningly crafted, it's chilling, and of course it's looking at that idea of what are we capable of when we sleep. It's a book you could devour all at one sitting. It's absolutely phenomenal. And I think it's going to, when it lands in February, people are going to be talking about this a great deal. We've already got some phenomenal quotes from the likes of Jeffrey Deaver, and some other great authors. Watch out for this. Go to your Reader's Warehouse and grab this in February because it's going to be good.
Of the book, and the premise of the start, I think it starts with the actual, like the therapist saying that he can sleep, like he can, like, like hypnotize people. And yeah, the premise just starts off so good that if you just read the first page or so, you actually, you'll go on this ride. You want to just keep reading it and reading and reading it. So it's got a great start. I think it twists with like a start straight away, and it grips the reader. So yeah, definitely very well. The author started the book extremely well for Anna.
Absolutely. And then we've got the new one from Kate Quinn. So Kate Quinn is teaming up with Janie Chang in this novel. So Kate Quinn, hopefully your listeners and your viewers are aware of the Rose Code and the Alice Network, which were runaway bestsellers. Kate Quinn is well known for her incredible research, especially she's done a lot of wartime fiction, a lot to do with spies and coding and things like that. Janie Chang has actually written one book already called The Library of Legends. She's got a new one coming out in February, which you can see at the bottom left there, called The Porcelain Moon, which is set during World War I and talks about the Chinese non-combatant laborers that were brought across and what happened to them. So the two of them are teaming up for this incredible book called The Phoenix Crown. And this is set in a very different time period to what we're used to seeing from Kate Quinn. And it's set primarily in 1906 in San Francisco. And what we find here is two main characters, two ladies. You've got Gemma, who's this golden-haired, silver-voiced soprano, but her career is kind of on the downturn. It probably needs a little bit of rekindling. We've also got Su Ling, who is this resolute Chinatown embroideress who's kind of trying to escape an arranged marriage. And their paths cross when they're drawn into the orbit of this railway magnate, Henry Thornton, not Thomas, Henry Thornton. And he's got all these incredible Chinese artifacts and antiques. And one of them includes the Phoenix Crown, which is this fabled relic from Beijing's fallen summer palace. And his patronage basically offers Gemma and Su Ling the chance of a lifetime. But then, as it does happen in real life in 1906, the San Francisco earthquake occurs. And this throws everything into jeopardy. And once the earthquake and the debris is cleared, this wealthy businessman, Henry Thornton, is nowhere to be found. And it leaves Su Ling and Gemma with an incredible mystery to solve. And we follow the book from there. It's a really great novel, well researched. If you love historical fiction, great for book clubs. This is definitely one to look out for. Next up, we have A.J. Finn. And this, of course, this is phenomenal. I mean, I don't know how many of you remember 2018, The Woman in the Window came out, which seems like an extraordinarily long time. The Woman in the Window was another one of those word-of-mouth bestsellers. We sold literally thousands of copies here in South Africa, which is very rare for most books, but also rare for a debut. And then, of course, Netflix snapped up the rights, and of course it became a great film, which you can still stream on Netflix, but I would definitely encourage you to, so if you haven't read it, go into Reader's Warehouse, pick up a copy, and you can get ready for the new one from him. And even if it takes a while for him to write one, if they're as good as The Woman in the Window, then it's definitely worth the wait. So this book opens with Sebastian Trapp, who is a famous mystery novelist, and he basically sends a message to his longtime correspondent, Nikki. The message is exactly what you see on the screen there. I'll be dead in 3 months. Come tell my story. A very intriguing and very cryptic message, you'll have to agree. So off Nikki sets to Sebastian's lavish and opulent mansion, and she tries to tease out Sebastian Trapp's life story under the very watchful eyes of his enigmatic wife and his very direct, plain-speaking daughter, who clearly, won't brook any nonsense. But Sebastian Trapp is kind of a mystery himself, because the more of the story that Nikki unravels, she realizes that maybe, just maybe, Sebastian is actually a murderer himself. Because 2 decades ago, his first wife and son vanished, and the case was never solved. So the question is he playing some sort of weird, deadly game? And if so, what's the point? Where's this going? Again, lots of twists and turns. If any of you read The Woman in the Window, you'll remember it was sort of famous for its Hitchcockian kind of themes, and very, very twisty. You didn't see the end coming. So this is going to be exactly the same, and we hope for, some great sales.
Um,
Then we've got the new one from Nikki French. So for those of you that don't know, very interestingly, Nikki French is actually a husband-wife writing team consisting of Sean French and Nikki Gerard. And they write together, and they've been very successful. They write a lot of standalone novels. And you can pick up whichever one you want, and essentially, you don't have to worry about the main character being coming back and trying to catch up on their personal lives. They're all standalone novels, and they're brilliantly done. I have a colleague who's a religious Nikki French follower and managed to get their hands on this copy and came to me and said, look, I know I'm biased. I do love Nikki French, but this one seems to be their best one yet. So the book, you can probably guess a little bit from the title, what it's about, but it starts off in 1990, and we have Charlotte Salter, who has thrown a 50th birthday party for her husband, but she doesn't turn up. And of course, everyone's a bit concerned. What's going on? Where could she be? But the party goes on, and at the end of the party, she's still not there. And hours turn into days, days turn into weeks, and incredibly, weeks turn into years, and she is never seen again. And the family are left with this feeling that she probably was killed, and the killer is out there somewhere, but has never been caught. So very, very sad. But then we go and we move on to present day, and we discover that Alec, the husband, is now suffering from dementia. And because of his dementia, he seems to confuse his oldest daughter to be his wife sometimes when he's talking to her. And as a result, he sometimes says things thinking that it's his wife, and he says certain things which just don't quite make sense to the eldest daughter, things that sort of put the evening of her disappearance into question. And then at the same time, you have their 2 childhood friends who are now adults, who start a podcast and want to reopen the disappearance of Charlotte Salter. And all of this together starts to lead to sort of the town's secrets coming out, and things unravel very quickly. So very fast-paced, good thriller.
Great. Sounds amazing.
Next up, we have historical war fiction, because that's a very popular genre still. And Mandy Robotham has really carved out a nice little corner of the market for herself with this kind of storytelling. This is her 5th book, and in fact, she's had a lot of success. The War Pianist was her last one. This book actually features one of the characters from The Berlin Girl, but again, you don't have to have read The Berlin Girl to read this book. They can be read completely on their own. And a little bit different from Mandy this time is the fact that instead of setting the book during the war, she's actually set this book in 1946, the year just after the war ends. And her main character here, Georgie Young, who is a reporter and had fled Germany 6 or 7 years ago, basically comes back to Hamburg and discovers a city in ruins, a country torn apart by the war, lots of poverty and lots of shame, obviously, from the people who are left over what Germany has done during the war. And she teams up with a policeman, Harry Schroeder, who's investigating a murder mystery, and a woman has been found with the word traitor carved onto her skin. It's absolutely horrific. And she basically discovers, that the war might be over, but there are still horrors out there, unfortunately. And this book sort of explores the aftermath of war and how just because the war was ended doesn't mean that the hatred just suddenly stops. So a very powerful book from Mandy Robotham.
Yeah, she's also really great. What an amazing author, and the bells is ringing here. And as I love the cover as well for the hidden storyteller, it just looks so beautiful, the cover.
Yes, I think you're right. It's spot on and really depicts the sort of the ruins afterwards, after the war. So yeah, another good one we're looking forward to. And then something quite different. This is another debut. This is coming in April. This is very much for fans of The Secret History, The Cloisters. In fact, someone described it to me as the secret history for millennials. This was a hotly contested manuscript. Many publishers were trying to secure the rights to this, and HarperCollins managed to purchase it. The Four by Ellie Keel will come out in April, and it's really being punted as the dark academia event of 2024. What I find interesting for this novel is that usually when we get author endorsements for a book, it's usually authors who write very similar material. And this book, I've seen endorsements from authors such as Kate Moss, Karen Slaughter, Daisy Goodwin, all sorts of authors who aren't really known for dark academia and who themselves write very varied genres. So it's clearly captivated a lot of people. I've started reading it, and it draws you in quite quickly. As you can guess, it's about 4 people. They attend this very expensive college called High Realms, and they are essentially they stand out from the very beginning because they're on scholarships, and they don't fit in with everyone else because it's power, it's privilege, it's money. That's pretty much what all the students feel like, and they of course are not. They're on scholarships, and something very early on happens, and basically they're bound together, these 4, very quickly by the secret, which essentially could save one of them or could destroy all of them. And just to give you a little taste, Thomas, I thought I'd just read a very short extract, one or 2 lines, just to give you an idea how the book opens. Here we go. It would have made our lives a lot easier if Marta had simply pushed Genevieve out of our bedroom window on our 3rd day at High Realms. Certainly, it would have been tragic. The main house was 6 stories high and wouldn't have ended well. She would have died instantly. But Marta did not push her that day, or, if you choose to believe me, at any other time. The Four. And then we have Bridget Collins. So Bridget Collins, probably most famous for The Binding. That was written many years ago, and kind of this magical realism set in a world we're very familiar with, but sort of often she would write sort of medieval times or old times or Victorian times, and then throw in this sort of magical element. The binding, when it came out, the cover was quite groundbreaking at the time, and I think there've been a lot of copycats since. As you can see, there's no final cover for Silence Factory, which will arrive in May, but HarperCollins are hoping to do something really spectacular and different. So we'll look out for that cover. The book is basically about a young man called Henry. He has a daughter who is deaf, and he himself struggles with all the noise that he is surrounded by, the clattering of the carriages through cobbled streets, the distant cries of drunken brawls. Everything irritates him, even the ticking of the clock. And then he meets a fascinating, mysterious gentleman who sells, in essence, silence. He's discovered this precious silk that can basically drown out the noise of the world and everything that Henry is desperate to escape. And he's summoned to this man's secluded warehouse, and he's kind of promised a cure for his daughter's deafness. But he's kind of drawn deeper and deeper into the mysterious origins of this strange silk, a gift that's come, from the Mediterranean. And he, of course, ignores repeated warnings. He allows himself to fall under the spell of the silk. And, the question is, will he learn its true cost? And when he does, will it be too late to turn back? So a very interesting premise and something quite different, actually. And then an author that I'm very keen on, Lucy Foley. If you like a good locked room murder mystery, if you're a fan of Agatha Christie, Lucy Foley is the modern Agatha Christie. And the great thing again with her, all standalone novels, no main character which you find recurring in all the novels, so you can pick up anyone and have a really good holiday read. The Paris Apartment was her last one. We've also got the other two there. And so this new one coming out in June, early June, and basically you're invited to the Midnight Feast. All I know about this is that it's set on the Dorset coast in midsummer. I know that there will be guests who are gathering for the opening of the Manor Hotel, which is punted as this new jewel on the Dorset coast. And of course, the champagne is flowing. There's an elite guest list. The sun is setting on the solstice. But underneath all the celebrations, there's something more sinister happening. Not everyone is happy that the manor house has been built here. She brings in some ancient folklore from the area, and we know that, she creates a really good atmosphere. And something is going to happen, and enemies are going to come out of the shadows, and of course someone is going to be killed, and something will have to unfold from there. So a lot of mystery, a lot to look forward to. You're a fan of that kind of genre, this is the author for you. And then we're on to some nonfiction. So I have a video for you. I hope this plays. So Joyful is Radhi Devlukia-Shetty's cookbook. She has over 2.2 million followers on Instagram. She has 540,000 dedicated subscribers on YouTube. And she is, of course, the wife of Jay Shetty, who wrote Think Like a Monk. She is very much into her Ayurvedic practices. She subscribes to a plant-based diet. And here she shares over 125 of those recipes with us. She's a self-taught cook and nutritionist. And her goal in this book is to show that you can have a balance between health and satisfaction. So the book includes a section on morning nibbles. There's a section on grains, bread, salads, soups, and making vegetable the hero. And of course, there's some drinks and some sweet treats. And because, of course, food cannot sustain us alone, she also shares her daily wellness practices, her skincare routine, her meditations, her prayers, talking about breathing and why it's important. So this is really primarily a recipe book, but also a little bit of lifestyle. And she's got an enormous following. And plant-based diets is definitely becoming something that more and more people are looking at, particularly with the state of the world we live in at the moment. So I think this is going to do tremendously well. She's going to have a lot of endorsements. And of course, her husband will also endorse it. So there's going to be a lot of publicity around the book. And it's going to be beautifully produced, full color. Recipes are looking gorgeous. Myself am not subscribing to a plant-based diet, but I was looking through some of the full color spreads, and they all look enticing. They all look really good, and I'd certainly try something. And lastly, from me is Rebel Wilson. I mean, I think she needs no introduction. She's a very well-known Australian actress and comedian. We met her in Pitch Perfect, Bridesmaids, The Hustle, so many other great movies. She's known for her incredible sense of humor. And of course, what we don't know is going to be revealed in this memoir. So she's telling us things that are hard to believe. She had to overcome shyness, apparently. And of course, for all of us that watch her, I think that's probably just incredible to think that someone like Rebel Wilson was shy at some stage. She talks about her life before Hollywood. So she looks at some funny stories, such as a malaria-induced hallucination. This book is going to be incredibly funny. She talks about some serious issues, of course. She looks at fertility issues, her weight gain and weight loss, sexuality, the rejections she's faced, but all told with an incredible sense of humor, which will make the book very accessible and very readable. And I think all her fans will want to get a hold of a copy, and even people that maybe only see her on the movies will be interested in what she has to say. And you can see there, 11 million followers on Instagram alone. So a really big name and a great celebrity memoir to have early on in the year. And essentially, that is it from me, Thomas. Thank you so much for your time. Guys watching out there, just make sure you go and reserve a copy or pre-order and go into Reader's Warehouse and support them. They're doing a fantastic job. And they've got some great selection of books.
Thank you so much, Bradley. That was really amazing titles there. I'm really excited about the new title from Mandy Robotham. The cover looks amazing, and it's great to have a new title for her. I know our book clubs love reading her books. I'm also really excited to see how the Anna O does and what people think about it, because it just sounds like it's going to be a fantastic thriller. Just to let everybody know that all titles that we can put on pre-order are listed below in the comment section. So if you want to add a title to your wish list or add a pre-order, you're welcome to, and just look below in the comments. If a title that Bradley has spoken about that is not in the comment section, that one is too far out at the moment for us to put it on our website, but look out for it very soon later this year on our website and at Reader's Warehouse. We'll be back next week with another one of these sessions looking at big books coming out in 2024. But until then, happy reading, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.